Okay, good morning, everybody. Glad to see you could join us this morning. Hope those of you who celebrate had a good holiday, and glad to see you could make it, even though for some people this is a holiday today. So, welcome everybody. As usual, we like to start with thanking our sponsors, CareFirst Health Plan, Satellite Broadcast, and we missed Steve, but he has another conflicting meeting on Monday morning, same time. Valley of the Sun United Way, Khajiit, and Triad Wireless. And again, we would love to have you as a sponsor. So if you have not signed up, please do so. Would love to have you join us. Again, reminder that, excuse me, that if you want to know who's participating in the task force, and I want to emphasize that it's only those people who have taken the time to fill out the Google form who show up on this list, but the list is available of people, how to contact them, their company, and so forth. So I encourage you to, if you haven't done that, once again, asking you to fill out that form. Again, our meetings are, well, of course, today's the 18th and the 25th, and I'll be sending out another notice about our May meetings. Can't believe it's almost May already. Unbelievable. And again, for those of you who may not know, that we do, after our formal meeting, we have an informal session called Kibitzing with Colleagues. That's an optional meeting where we stop our recording and just allow people to chat, share information, ask questions or whatever. We may have 5 people, we may have 20 people. So encourage you, it's a good opportunity to interact with people a little more than we have in the past. Let's see, what else? Well, I just want to jump into the agenda this morning. We'll have a good presentation. We'll hear from T-Mobile about their home internet and a little more about what they're doing with digital inclusion here in the state of Arizona. So I look forward to hearing from them shortly. Is there anybody who is new to, besides our presenters who you're going to hear from later, is there anybody else who's new to the meeting today?
Hey, good morning. This is Justin. I'm new to it. This is my first time joining.
Right, and of course we're going to be hearing from you a little later, Justin. And David will be hearing from you also. Let's see who else we've got. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, so moving on the agenda. Excuse me, just a reminder, you should have gotten a notice from me, but in the meeting announcement, but the Arizona Technology Council, and Mark, maybe you want to talk about this, their ninth annual cybersecurity summit coming up on May 12th. Mark, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
Sure. This has been going on for 7 or 8 years. It's about a 5-hour event that fairly low cost. I'd have to look it up. I'll post a link in the chat while we're talking, but it's always a good venue where there's speakers both from often government agencies. Frank Grimmelman, who heads the ACTRA cybersecurity group here, and others. We hear from InfraGard and others, and then from some corporate entities, usually CIOs and such, CSOs, chief security officers. So I will go dig up the link and put it in the chat.
And it should also be in the email announcement I sent about the meeting today. And I believe—
Good morning. I'm actually in the call. This is Carla Morales, the Vice President for the Arizona Technology Council. I'm on the call as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the cybersecurity summit that we're having. It is going to be on May 12th. Just so you all know, it is from 10:45 to 3:30. And if you were not planning on going, I strongly encourage it, because we had such great response from last year that we actually had to expand the summit. half an hour before and half an hour. That's why it's starting at 10:45, because there was such a high demand for it. And as Mark mentioned, we are have an incredible panel from companies like Freeport, Raytheon, Avnet, just a huge amount of information, really good resources in the area of cybersecurity. I'll be happy to share that with you all as well.
Sure. And I did put the announcement, and I believe I included the link to that webpage in the meeting announcement for today's meeting.
And Kirk just put the link in the chat. Thanks, Kirk.
Thanks, Kirk.
So while it's always difficult, I mean, Tech Council has all kinds of great events, but we have been having a lot of discussions recently about cybersecurity. So I thought it might be interesting for you. It will be only live. It is not available remotely, if I'm correct.
Carla,
Will
it's
be
not
a
a
virtual-
hybrid event?
There will be a hybrid component, but not to the whole thing, only to portions of it.
Right.
So just so you know, there will be some parts that will be recorded and available, but not all of it. So I strongly suggest join us in person, please.
So Carla, do you know, is that the remote participation, will that actually be taking place at that time or only be available afterwards? Do you know?
I can double check. If you give me during the meeting, I'll give you a final answer, because
Okay.
it's good. It's been discussed, but I'm not sure that it has been decided 100%. So let me double check and I'll give you an answer.
Okay, because I
Yeah,
haven't seen.
Steve, I believe it will be a webcast, but basically the luncheon and the networking, it ends with a networking session. Those will only be live, of course, but all the content will be broadcast simulcast.
Yeah, I don't think I had seen anything about that. So anyway, it's good to know, and we'll share that information as soon as, and Carla, if you don't get it this morning, that's fine. We can share it later when I send the, the update of the meeting. So just let me know. I just hadn't seen anything in the announcement about it. So anyway, but again, we've been having such important discussions, and if I'm not mistaken, Karen, Tim Romer is going to be participating, is on that panel, who is head of Homeland Security for the state of Arizona. So maybe we can.
That's wonderful. I was going to ask if someone got a hold of him.
We haven't, but and she's not on today. Kelly is not on from the Department of Education, but I believe she told me that one of her people has been in communication with that department about the cybersecurity work that they're doing. So it would be good to try and reconnect with that.
That's great.
Okay, moving on. Let's see. So let's just go ahead and start with our updates and make sure we have plenty of time for our presentation. So Jeff, you want to kick it off, please?
Sure. Hey, Steve. It's going to be a quick one. Last week, we spent a lot of time working with our tribes. First, as a member of the NTIA Tribal Cohort, which is a group of state broadband leaders and tribal leaders from around the country to work on things, not just in terms of infrastructure, but also to start talking to tribes about digital inclusion. Christine Firethunder from the governor's office was on with me as well, and it was very educational. On one hand, there's as you know, we have a lot more to do, clearly, but I feel like we're making some really positive steps relative to some of the other states. We do have quite a few tribes in our state, so their needs are very diverse and very different, and that was fascinating. Also, we met with a couple different tribes directly, the Navajo Nation, as we continue to work on our broadband summits with them. Those are led by Delegate Kealan Begay and Coconino County Supervisor Lena Fowler. And this is our third meeting. Yeah, third. We had the last one in Phoenix. This one was up in Utah. Wasn't able to join locally, but was able to join remotely. And I can tell you, we're making some real progress. So one of my big personal initiatives for this next month is to reach out to some of our tribes that have not been as active. We've got a meeting set up this week with the CRIT, the Colorado River Indian tribes, to talk about helping them participate in the great stuff we've got going on in Yuma. Probably the most important thing we did last week was working with the IIJA task force. I was told by the governor's office they're referring it to as the EJA task force. So tomato, but it's something that I'm really excited about being a part of. In addition to myself and representatives from groups that you would think of like ADOT, we had representatives from WIFA, which is a small organization within state government, actually office with us, that works on things all related around water, which was fascinating. For those of you who don't know me very well, I'm a bit of a sustainability freak in addition to being into broadband. We're in the process of getting solar put on our house, and we're going to have our house painted with a paint that reduces the loss of heat by about 20%. But that doesn't do anything for water. So learning about water and what's going on with that was interesting. Also, our DEMA, the folks that handle emergencies, everything from the National Guard to forest fires and that sort of thing, and many other different agencies. The amount of money that's coming, and I'll still call it the IIJA, is pretty staggering, and trying to figure out ways we can work together. There's money in there for things like electric charging for cars, and trying to weave all this together is an exciting thing. The governor has a new I guess delegate, or I don't know exactly what her title is. She's the COO of the state. She's leading this task force. And I will tell you, broadband is very integral to a lot of things that are going on. As I mentioned, for those of you who are joining late, I was up a little bit late on my taxes last night. So I'm here. I can certainly answer questions to the best of my ability. And this is an exciting time. We're continuing to evaluate the grant. Sandeep is not here because he was up very late last night doing technical analysis on our grant applications. And we're moving forward with that. So a lot coming up in the next, say, 45 to 60 days. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has. And if not, Steve, I'll just go ahead and give the floor back to you.
Sure. So Jeff.
And Jeff, just let me
ahead,
mention in regards to the IIJA, the White House put out a really great briefing book on it, where there's a page for every program and sub-program and element. So if you want to know what's in the sustainability or, transportation as well as broadband, all those elements are detailed. I just put that in the chat.
Great. Thanks, Mark.
So Jeff, are you going to be hiring any other staff besides Sandeep?
Yeah, we've actually got a couple other headcount that we're going to be putting open here, hopefully in the next, say, 45 days, specifically around handling some of this huge workload that we're getting. We're going to continue to work with KPMG moving forward on our middle mile and highways plan, which is exciting, and more to come on all that. But absolutely, we've got a couple positions. I've just got to get approval to get them out there.
And so Jeff, where does digital inclusion fit into the plan of people you're bringing on board?
I'm certainly not the digital inclusion expert. We've had some great discussions with Aaron Carr-Jordan over at ASU about how to structure the program, and those continue. Again, the digital inclusion program, I think, works hand in glove with what we're doing. If you talk about tribes and you talk about communities like Kingman that are going to have amazing broadband in the next year, helping them understand what they have and utilize this new tool is so important. So, I see them playing a huge role in what we're doing, and, certainly looking for input. I know I've got another meeting this week around digital inclusion, and we're going to continue to take advice for everybody, but put forth a plan that pushes in the right direction, but also gives us some flexibility in how we do this. Every state is starting from scratch on this. There's no right answer. And if there's a better answer out there, we're certainly willing to take it.
And we are starting, you'll hear probably from Cindy and Nicole later about what they're starting to do in terms of the discussion about the state and digital inclusion. So you need to be aware of that discussion that's taking place.
Yeah, no, Cindy is a subject matter expert on this and somebody I trust. Nicole Umime's another person that has had a lot of background in this area, and we hope to work with both of them as we move forward.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Mala, are you online?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. Yeah, the E-rate window closed last month and early this month. And Funds for Learning have presented an analysis on the applications because this serves as a barometer for trends in internet access and educational technology resources, both for K-12 as well as for public libraries. This year's filing shows that there was a strong demand for on-campus computer networking, especially the category 2, which supports network switches, Wi-Fi equipment, data cabling. It reached a record level of 2.11 billion in requests, while the internet discounts went down to 1.54 billion. Again, we already saw the reasons for that last time because of the reduction in the price per meg as well as in the wireless access points. So I won't belabor that. Previous notes have that detail as well as breakdown. So we can refer back to that. There is a good video, PowerPoint also on that, and I'll put that in the chat as soon as I get talking. Also, Pew Research has done some research on analyzing the basic needs, and they say about 46% of low-income households are still struggling to pay their internet bills, and 19% of middle-income homes are struggling to pay the internet bills. So we still have more work to do through the ACP program and the ECF program. I'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. So the ACP enrollment has gone up to 253,000 households. And this is data as of April 11th. They're always a few days behind in putting their data out there. And again, ACP Media and Resource Kit is available on Connect-Arizona. So please check that site out if you are interested in promoting to any of your local households through your faith-based organizations or any other organization. Please try to push ACP out as much as you can. With the Emergency Connectivity Fund, the third filing window is opening on April 28th. We are just 10 days away from that. And it closes on Friday, May 13th. This is an opportunity, one more opportunity for libraries and schools to apply for devices and hotspots for their patrons and for their students. FCC says they anticipate $1 billion will be available for commitment. We'll wait and see how that goes. And also if there is more application than the demand, then they will prioritize based on the discount level using the NSLP discounts. So this gives schools and libraries a chance to talk to their patrons, get them both internet connectivity as well as devices. There's a cap on the devices of $400 per device and a cap on the Wi-Fi hotspot of $250 per hotspot, but there's no limit on the amount that they would pay as a recurring cost for internet. So back to you, Steve.
Okay. Holly, are you online? Do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. Thank you, Steve.
Okay. So Nicole, we'll jump into you and Cindy and talking about digital inclusion and what's happening in upcoming meetings and so forth. So Cindy and Nicole, you're on.
Go ahead, Nicole. Okay. Good morning, everybody. So we're continuing to gather a diverse amount of stakeholders for our what we call our digital inclusion luncheons, but these are really action focused. So we've been focusing our past few meetings on spreading the word about the ACP. So connecting with a lot of members of this group and a lot of others as well to strategize about getting the word out. And, of course, I've got to shout out to our partners at Common Sense Media, who are trying to do some targeted promotion of the ACP nationally, but also being able to direct people back to local resources at the state level. So that includes our statewide digital navigator program, which is library staff who are able to support with digital literacy and internet signups and all sorts of things, digital inclusion. Like I mentioned, we are really an action-oriented team of maybe people who don't see their primary focus as digital inclusion, but of course we know that that touches all of our work and our ability to serve our customers and our state. And so the next sort of major focus is awareness of digital inclusion, having those conversations, but moving towards how we can strategically promote it statewide through a couple of different events that Cindy and I are thinking about. I don't know if you want to add anything there, Cindy. Oh, I also did want to mention on the, I guess as a state library update, because Jeff had mentioned supporting tribes in digital inclusion. The state library is supporting the Association of Tribal Archives, Libraries, and Museums in hosting a virtual digital inclusion summit for tribal libraries, archives, and museums. So it's not really intended to be a fly on the wall sort of event. It's a action and really resource heavy 2-day virtual conference for people working in tribes, but having these important discussions about what does the broadband adoption and the digital inclusion piece look like in this world of tech needs for Indian country. So we're excited about that. I'll share that registration out with folks who are relevant there. But I'll see, Cindy, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Sure, yes. Yeah, I also pulled up some stats on the ACP program. It looks like for the week ending in April 11th, across the country, there were 207,000 people that signed up just for that week. And also in that same week, Arizona signed up 5,700. So it's still going along fairly well, and Arizona remains high in, within the top 10 or 12 states in signups. And let's see. Okay. A number of people who come to this meeting are also working together on the Pima County Strategic Plan Task Force for Digital Access, Inclusion, and Adoption. And we're currently mapping existing digital literacy assets throughout Pima County, and also looking for the gaps and gathering information from community members and organizations. And we believe that this is the first such effort in the state, co-led by Pima County and the county library. And we hope it will spark some efforts in other counties as we move toward developing that state digital equity plan. Also, I wanted to get people ready for something that Nicole and I are talking about as well. The National Digital Inclusion Alliance organizes Digital Inclusion Week annually in October. And we in the digital inclusion space want to attack that early this year so we can get some activities going across the state. So anyone who would be interested in taking part in that, I'm going to put my phone number and email in the chat. So you can contact me anytime if you have any questions about what I've just said.
So Cindy, Nicole, can you guys provide us the information about both the new meetings that you guys have been having, and then we also have a monthly meeting, is that correct? Or not? Yes, no?
Yeah, we've held one meeting for the monthly open digital inclusion meeting or group. We have a couple people that can't make the time frame that we've selected, so that's in flux at the moment. I'll report back on what we land on as a better meeting time.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any questions for Cindy and Nicole? Amazing stuff happening. You guys do great work.
Hey,
Mala,
Steve,
Jeff has a question.
I have a quick question for them. Number one, Cindy, if you would like to hold your kickoff meeting or however you wanted to do it for NDIA at ACA, if you let me know ahead of time, we have a really nice conference facility. I'd be happy to make that available to everybody. Clearly, by that point, we'll be doing a lot within the state. We'd love to host.
Wonderful.
So yeah, one of the things that keeps coming up in my meetings as I talk to different groups about this is the sustainability of device programs for kids and for others. You know, we all know that there's a shelf life on computer hardware. You know, there's servicing that needs to be done. The schools in particular have reached out and have some challenges with that. If you guys come across any programs, any models that work really well to make that happen, I'd be interested. Obviously, we talked to Dell and all our great computer manufacturers here. That being said, you know, they'd love us to just buy new ones every year. And I just don't see that as a good solution. So any programs that you come across specifically around that, I'd be grateful to learn about.
okay. And Lindsay, you had your hand up.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Cindy, so we do host from the HECN and the Alliance, we do host an annual event called the HIT Symposium. We normally do it in October. So we will be happy to be connected with you and maybe set up a date that it will fall under that week. So I'm not sure how can we coordinate later. We're still waiting for our grant notice of funding. So still a little bit on the air, but I should have more information around June on regards to that. So we can keep each other, posted.
Sounds great. Thanks, Lindsay.
All right, thanks.
Steve, I had one more thing that Elena reminded me of. I'm an AmeriCorps member, and I had invited Elena and Yasmin Badri to speak at a guest speaker series that AmeriCorps is putting on to talk about digital equity. It's a 2-hour session that it's the AmeriCorps people are most of the members are really interested in this digital equity topic, and it's fun to start seeing the interest rise.
Awesome. Okay, anything else, Cindy, Nicole? If not, moving on. Mala, I don't know if I don't think Janet's online today. But Mala, do you have any updates on the telehealth and libraries project?
Just a short update. There's a lot happening at the national level. Delaware hosted a national telemedicine event, and they are going to do one every month. And they have breakout groups where we talk about the different aspects of telemedicine, including, whether we should go in for kiosks or not go in for kiosks and those kind of things. What kind of devices we could use within the library, what models work and don't work. So there's a lot going on nationally, and we are participating. I don't have an update about our pilot project, but I would just say, stay tuned, watch the space, because it's very exciting. We are planning an inauguration in June. I really don't want to go into details about it yet because nothing is confirmed except that we want to do it during the weekend of June 16th or 17th. We're still waiting for a location to do it because both those libraries, Ajo and Narvaca, are too small to hold the event, and the parking lots can't hold the cars that park. Even if you have one single car, it's a 3-point turn before you can get yourself out, in and out. So it's a very small place. But we are planning events there, and it's very exciting. So those who are close by maybe could come stop by and see what's happening. It's likely to be at least a half-day event. So stay tuned. I will give you more updates as we confirm stuff.
Okay.
Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Mala. So before I forget, Jessica Novak, I know you're online and you were looking for some data. Did you get the information you need, or do you want to tell people what you're looking for? Maybe somebody can help you. Jessica, are you there? Okay. All righty, moving on. So Sophia, I believe you're online. I know that Kelly couldn't make it this morning, and I don't think I've seen Mylan either. Sophia, do you have anything that you want to update us on?
I don't have any major updates, but I will just do another plug for the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning newsletter. If you aren't already on their list, I'll put the link for their website in the chat so you can join it, because they're putting together some great newsletters. I think they go out every other week, and they have the different professional development and sessions and things like that that the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning is doing.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Sophia. It is a good newsletter and good for people to sign up. Okay, anything else? Mylan, you're not online. And Kelly, I knew you weren't going to be here this morning. Anything else? Leah, I don't believe you're online. Derek, I don't think you're online either. And Wes, I don't think you're there. Rory, are you online today?
Yes, I think your screen sharing is still turned on, Steve.
I'm sorry, what was that, Rory?
I think your screen sharing is still turned on.
Screen sharing.
Okay, do you have any updates, Rory, on Final Mile?
No, we're still crunching along. We got zoning issues we're dealing with right now, but it's we're still building it out. We actually think FEMA was supposed to be live on Friday, so we're checking on that this morning. So if that's the case, then FEMA will be coming online in the next few days. So we're Sparklight said that they got their equipment out there. So that's the next one, and then hopefully once we get zoning cleared up, a couple areas will be starting power installations on Forest Lakes and Holbrook.
Okay, anything else? Okay, so before we move on to our presentation this morning, I just wanted to get a little feedback from you folks. A couple of years ago, we experimented with having a networking event, an online networking event, and haven't done that since. And I'm wondering what you folks think. Would you be interested in doing like an after hours thing? And of course, it's totally optional, and maybe have some breakout sessions and so forth. Is that something you folks would be interested in, or you have no interest? What's your thoughts? And part of my interest in doing that is again, we have so many new people, we have so many people doing great stuff, and a lot of folk, and you may not even know who's involved with this task force. So I'm just trying to find some ways to further engagement. So any thoughts one way or another? Yes, no, maybe? Maybe I need to do a poll.
You're getting some answers in the chat, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, and Triad would help sponsor that, Steve.
I'm sorry, what was that, Rory?
Triad we'd offer to be one of the sponsors of the event.
Oh, cool. Okay. So it looks like a lot of folks think that's a good idea. So actually, if anybody would like to help plan that, I would.
I was gonna ask you that, Steve, since that is kind of our specialty, I'd be happy, maybe you and I can connect afterwards so I can get a better idea of what your vision is.
Cool.
And I'll have our director of operations kind of look at our schedule and partner with you on this.
That'd be great, Carla. Actually, when we did it last time, we modeled it over the Tech Council's networking events that, what's his name was coordinating. That you guys
Eric Miller.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Eric Miller. And so,
Oh, I see, yes.
so he did, I think, a good job with that stuff. And so I'm thinking that something similar is what we would like to do. So thank you, Carla. I would be glad to talk with you about that.
Sounds good. We'll talk offline. I'll send you an email.
Sounds great. Thanks. Okay, now moving on to our presentation this morning. Okay, where's my agenda? So this morning, I want to introduce three people who are going to be kind of giving us an update. I know you're all probably hearing multiple ads about T-Mobile's home internet service. And so I've asked Will, David, Will has been involved to some degree with us for quite a long time. So I contacted Will and he invited David and Justin to give us kind of an update on what's happening with home internet, as well as some of the other things that T-Mobile is doing in the digital inclusion space. So with that, Will, I'm going to turn it over to you and David and Justin. And if you need to do a presentation, I will stop sharing and you're welcome to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve, for having me. Everybody hear me?
Yep.
Good? Okay. I have a new laptop. This is my first day using it. So trying to sign on the Zoom, it's like you have to download all the stuff. So I make sure my video worked and audio.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. As you all know, T-Mobile's been a primary wireless carrier for the last 24 years. With the T-Mobile and Sprint merging as one, we have a lot of network and bandwidth, and that those synergies together create a lot of spectrum, which has now allowed us to get into the home internet business. And so we're actually blowing away records. Arizona's actually, I found out last week that Phoenix and Chicago are like our two fastest growing adoption markets in the country. I'm hearing from all kinds of customers who are getting it. People are blown away by it. So, it's kind of cool to see what's happening here. But before I go any farther, let me introduce my team. I've got David, who works with me in my office. I'm more of the state and local. David's more state of Arizona. So David, do you want to introduce yourself real quick and say hi?
Sure, good morning. David Perticisi, Government Account Executive here in Arizona. As Will mentioned, I was brought on about a year ago as a dedicated resource to the state agencies and departments themselves. Home internet is a topic that we talk about in most meetings. As a personal user, I'm talking to you on our connection today. To give you an idea, I typically get around 300 meg download, and with the typical carrier that most folks had used here locally, I won't say their name, but their service, I was getting about 39 meg. It's a three-letter word, if you could imagine. So we're excited today to talk to you about the service because it's not only a much better solution from a performance perspective, but it's also at a reduced cost. So we're excited to talk about the solution. Thanks very much, Will.
Yeah. And then Justin's our sales engineer. So we always love to have our sales engineers on the phone with us because they know all the technical stuff. So Justin, you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Justin Ugolino here, Solutions and Sales Engineer based out of Gilbert, Arizona. So I've been working within the wireline and wireless industry for over 20 years now and been with T-Mobile for the last 3 years supporting a lot of our government accounts. So as Will mentioned, we're doing a lot of great and fantastic innovating things in our network. So I'm really excited to go over what some of that looks like with you folks today.
Yep. So as you know, we've been doing the Project 10 Million work with many schools throughout the state and deployed probably over 50,000 hotspots to schools in Arizona. The libraries were able to get involved with the ECF programs, done a lot of library deals. but today's call is more about the home internet, so I just kind of move right into that. So
Excuse me, Will, but we
Yeah.
definitely would want to hear more about the other things you were just talking about.
Okay, yeah, I can answer questions on both at the end. So, okay. So with the home internet, it's a little bit, it's just like when you sign up, if depending on where you live, right? Some neighborhoods have only Cox, some internet, some have CenturyLink, some have both. So when you start off by getting the service from T-Mobile, you do have to go to T-Mobile.com and click on home internet, and you'd put in your home address. We do offer it a little bit differently. We are bringing in wirelessly, and you have to be somewhat close to one of our cell sites. So there is an address checker, and we need you to be somewhat close to the cell site, because to be able to get home internet speeds and stream all your TVs and all your devices, you got to be kind of close. So it's a little bit different than CenturyLink and Cox. When you put in your address, it's going to basically say yes or no, or it might say something where, we're making improvements, check back in a month or two. We are still working on our towers. We still have to go to every site in America and swap out the antennas and make it where they have T-Mobile and Sprint's network bands broadcasting. The last stat I saw, we had 76% of the state of Arizona's population covered. So we obviously still have work to do. The service runs $50 a month. We do not get you for data overage fees. There's no surprise bill. The taxes and fees are embedded in that cost. And so your cost is $50 a month. It's not like you sign up and then you get your bill and it's $65, right? So this is a consumer play. You sign up under your own name and social security number. You don't have to be a T-Mobile customer for your voice lines. You can get it set alone. I'm gonna pause right there, see if there's any questions, and then I'm gonna have Justin talk more on the technology side. What kind of speeds we're getting and the download, how Netflix and things like that work out. Any questions? Because I don't want to talk too much and not allow questions.
So, Will, just a reminder that is 5G.
It is. Yep. And Justin, do you want to talk about the actual device itself and kind of a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we actually offer it's a Nokia gateway, which is spec'd out to both take advantage of 4G LTE bands as well as 5G bands. And so I went ahead and linked the website to address check for qualifying addresses. Basically, it's going to tell you right away if your address qualifies or not. But back to the modem itself. So it's spec'd out to take advantage of, the best signal in that residence. So, a lot of times I work with customers and I try to recommend the best area in the home, depending on where the towers are located in the area. I usually do that for our business customers, not necessarily on the consumer side, but it's sort of the same because, tower locations are tower locations, they don't change. But yeah, like Will said, depending on how close you are, you want to try to take advantage of what we call our UC 5G signal. That's our 2.5 gigahertz frequency. And that's what Sprint brought when we merged with them. They brought with them the most mid-band spectrum out of all the carriers, and that's going to be the foundation for our ultra-fast 5G speeds. And so, obviously every resident or home user, internet user has different bandwidth needs. I wouldn't say the fastest speeds are absolutely the most critical need for a lot of users. Some users require much less, like my parents, right? Who just use it to email and things like that. So it really just depends on the individual users, but the device itself, because we have all three layers for spectrum, low band, mid band, and high millimeter wave, that gateway is going to take advantage of whatever is in that area. And, to qualify, to even be a broadband provider, broadband, I believe, requires speeds to be at least 25 megs of download speed. So you're going to get that at every address, no matter what. But there is no limit to how fast or how high that number could get. It really just depends on where you are. Any questions on that?
So Justin, just to be clear, so the device that you provide, do you also still need a router or not?
No, so it acts as a modem router combo. So you will not need an additional device. So it comes with the service itself and there's no charge for it.
Yep.
And if you do have a sophisticated router, a massive MIMO router, can you simply route bandwidth from your hotspot and use your own?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, Mark, I have one of those Orbi mesh networks because I have a little bit bigger house. And so I plug the first one right after the T-Mobile, and then the other one goes on the other side of the house.
And then is the reason that your distance from the tower is limited because you're using millimeter wave, you're using higher frequencies for this service?
Well, so millimeter, sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry.
Millimeter wave is, when we decided to deploy 5G, right? So between the three carriers, we all had different approaches to deploy 5G. Our competitors focused a lot on millimeter wave. That's the super high frequency where you see speed tests of 1 or 2 gig download speeds, which is a great and fantastic solution, but it comes with many major flaws. And for instance, you have to be within 500 yards of a base station. It doesn't penetrate through windows or leaves on a tree, things like that. So when it comes to home internet, we focus more on the low band and mid band frequencies because how far that signal travels and how great it penetrates through buildings, right? Millimeter wave isn't going to get you that. So we've been deploying that in specific and more strategic areas like intersections or major sporting arenas and things like that. But for home internet, you're primarily going to get the low band or LTE low band 5G and then ultra capacity 5G, which is our mid band 2.5.
Thank you. A little nerdy, but thank you. Helps me.
Yeah.
Mark and Justin, I want to jump in real quick. I think it's viable just that everyone on the call understands. T-Mobile made some really smart moves about 4 years ago. And in particular, we procured 600 megahertz spectrum. So one of the main differentiators, if you compare T-Mobile's 5G versus our competitors, is that we can deploy 5G across that low, middle, and high band frequency. So honestly, our 5G service, especially on our 600 megahertz, will simply just travel further and penetrate buildings better than our competitors. And I do want to say, team, I think we're being coy because as a home internet user, it doesn't really get any simpler. Literally, you order the product, the puck is, the router itself is, it looks like a giant coffee cup, for lack of better. You can tie 25 devices to it. And again, from a data perspective, I get anywhere from 200 to 800 meg on the service. And I don't have a ton of issues from a connection perspective. So, if we had to state from a, Valley perspective, how much of the Valley can we supply home office internet to? Engineering has told me around 70% of the Valley should have capabilities for it. So I want to make sure that we don't undertalk our solution because it's an amazing tool.
Yeah, I was able to connect all my thermostats in the house, my garage door opener in the garage, two TVs. I was streaming Netflix at the same time on both, and I had YouTube playing on my work computer. I mean, I wasn't able to get it to buffer or do anything. When I ran speed tests, I was getting about 80, but I did see peaks at 380. But the thing is, people get so caught up on how fast, I'm one of them. I'm always pulling my cell phone out and seeing how fast my phone can get. I've gotten 750 is my record so far. But in reality, like Justin said earlier, 25 meg download speeds was kind of identified as sort of the benchmark. So it's an amazing little service. When you get the device, it's probably about, I would say about 15 inches tall, and it's a little, some people kind of nickname it kind of a little baby trash can. It's a little circular thing, and on the top it has a signal bar. And so what you want to do is there's directions, right? There's an online tutorial, and then there's directions. You kind of want to go put it by a window And so maybe you might start with your window that faces north and then go to your window that faces south and then your east and west. You kind of want to move it around your house and try to put it in the window that has the most signal bars. And of course, if you have a 2-story house, you want to try to put it upstairs, just to get the highest signal strength. And that'll just give you, faster data speeds and a little better connectivity. There's no contracts. It's sort of a month to month. It's an amazing product, and I'd be shocked if we don't start raising prices on it after a while, because I pay double. I used to pay double for the same service. So
Will, there was a question in the chat about how ACP, if you have any kind of a plan at the $30 rate rather than the $50 rate, is there any options there?
I'm not looking at the chat. You said 8. Was it? What was the person? What was the group that asked the question?
It was me.
I'm sorry.
It was me.
Oh, was it ACP? Was that?
Yeah. So the Affordable Connectivity Program provides $30 a month to low-income families who really can't afford the internet. So part of the problem is finding a plan that they can get on and have the appropriate speeds and the need what's necessary for them to work at home and do schoolwork and et cetera.
Yeah, I don't know if David or Justin know. I can find out and get back to you guys on that. Just to preface, this is a consumer product. David and I are on the government side of T-Mobile, so we're actually unfortunately not able to sell this. If I have friends and family and neighbors that need it, they have to basically go to a local T-Mobile store or go online or call the 800 number. Let me get back to the group about those kind of discounts. And I would think that
I can answer it well.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So I'm assuming you're referring to emergency broadband, right? So providing free or reduced internet connectivity to families that need it. And we do participate there. The pricing is actually less than $30. And we can provide information on that. That is separate than what we're talking about here via the home office internet solution. The emergency broadband solution is providing that connectivity via a hotspot. So the device and a hotspot plan versus this is more of a home internet solution built for that specifically. So just a little bit more capacity and capability on home office internet than you're going to get from a traditional hotspot.
So David, you're seeing a couple of head shakes going on there. Cindy, Ilana, you want to comment?
Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, EBB is no more. It's moved to the Affordable Connectivity Program. And what we're talking about is that there's only a $30 subsidy. So if you offer a $50 plan, you're having to make low-income people are having to make up the $20 difference. And that impacts a lot of people. I know, especially in the areas that I work in Tucson. So we're just trying to get a sense. I thought there was going to be a little more conversation about digital inclusion as part of this presentation. So yeah, it would be really important for you guys to get back to us on those.
Yeah,
I see. Okay, understood. So my information's a bit old and we need to provide you the updated program information.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a $30 discount to citizens who qualify. So if they go get the service on their own, they get a government subsidy, correct, Cindy?
Well, they have to go through you to get the plan.
Okay.
And what I'm saying is they get the $30 subsidy, but when they first opened the plan, I was checking ISPs across the board to find out if there were $30 plans. And initially there weren't. Everybody was at $50, but they've come down and people are adapting and realizing that the whole point is to get the people that need it the most. That relief. So there are $30 plans being promoted by most ISPs, at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and Paul made a good point too, in that from a marketing standpoint, when you're promoting $50 plans or $30 plans, that doesn't include all the FCC, all the taxes and everything that gets, obviously piled on. So a $30 plan is really a $50 plan, and a $50 plan is really a, $70 plan. So that's something that we need to keep in mind as well. I think that was Paul that mentioned that.
So before we go on, Jeff, did you have something that you wanted to comment or question?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I'm pretty darn sure that T-Mobile participates in the program. So again, you're talking about a $50 plan with a subsidy, so it's more like $20 a month,
right?
Which is in the ballpark of what Cox does with Connect to Compete. The most important thing to realize here is that as they build out their networks, this is something that fills in the gap. If you look at the coverage issues, particularly in places like Tucson, there are some dead spots. So there's a couple choices. You can spend millions of dollars and learn how to be an ISP and hope that the city council continues to fund you in Tucson, or you can work with the existing carriers in place. This is a model that works in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as the example I always use. Granted, it was Cox and AT&T in that market. They had 22,000 families hooked up to high-speed internet the summer of 2020, when no one was leaving their houses. How did they do that? They worked with the existing network that was in place. No system is perfect, but this is a really great product for filling in the gaps in our urban areas and bundling with digital inclusion offers, particularly with K-12 kids and seniors and others. It's very easy. It's plug and play. There's no infrastructure that has to be built. If there's an outage, there's a first-class company that's going to fix it. We've had great response with T-Mobile. We've had great response with T-Mobile in our urban markets. They have 5G in Page, Arizona, which is pretty phenomenal if you get up to a little town like Page. So I know that there's a lot of skepticism I'm hearing here, but this is a very good program. A lot of these programs have to be put in their right role. And this is a great program particularly for Phoenix and Tucson to fill in those gaps, because Tucson in particular, there are some serious service gaps with multiple carriers providing the infrastructure. So that's my 2 cents worth. I know Will a little bit. He's a great guy and one of the people I actually go to for questions around the wireless industry. So don't take this as anything other than a positive. And apologize, but I've got to jump for another call.
Yeah, thanks Jeff.
So Will, maybe, and I don't know if you can answer this today, but what is your perspective about coverage in rural areas? Where are we with, obviously you got to have your towers. And so do you have a sense on what your coverage is outside of Phoenix and Tucson?
Yeah, right now we're at, so I'm not talking land mass and like square miles. I'm talking population, what we call POPs. Right now, the T-Mobile engineering team has covered 76% of Arizona's POPs. And that's changing every day because we're doing about 10 to 15 towers a week. But we have to send a crew out there, lift them up in a little crane thing and switch out the antennas. And so we get emails every week, every day. They're just all over the state. 1 minute it's down in Nogales, next time it's out in Yuma, next one's in Tucson, Phoenix. Either my 2 or 3 in Phoenix and Tucson. Payson, just all over the place, right? So. Next week it might be 77%, then 78, then 79. So we're going to go all the way to 100%. But yeah, it's increasing. If somebody checks the website today and it says no, if they check back in a month from now, it might be a yes. And so, but I know we know what Cindy and everyone's talking about. I tried to get someone from our home internet team on this call, but it was kind of short notice and with Good Friday and then being a 7:30 Monday call, I just couldn't get someone in time. And so I told Steve I would just talk at a high level. But I would imagine if there are $30 government subsidies out there and we're an internet provider and we charge $50 flat, all taxes and fees are embedded in that $50. So it's $50 even when you get your bill. If there is a $30 government discount, that brings them down to 20. I don't know if T-Mobile offers discounts where we charge 30 and then that makes it free, but I will get back to everybody on some more stuff.
So Will, can you provide us, and you don't have to do it today, but who is the ideal home internet person that we should be talking to? Now, keep in mind, though, that a lot of the people on this call also represent nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and so forth. So we obviously have a mix of people, but many of those people serve low-income folks home internet. So
yeah, you know, if you're struggling financially and you can't afford home internet, you know, there are things you can get through the school districts. You know, a lot of schools are still participating on our, you know, Project 10 Million with ECF funds. So, you know, K through 12 students can possibly get internet connectivity for free at the house. I've worked, you know, my team have done a lot of work with the libraries. I just sent out 12 more hotspots to Pinal County Library on Friday. So, you know, libraries are getting involved with us, and there's library checkout programs. David or Justin, am I missing anything? I'm trying to think of other things. You know, this home internet is new, right? It just launched in Phoenix, I think, what, 9 months ago? So this is a new product for T-Mobile for the home internet side.
Steve.
Yeah, go ahead, Sharika. I'm sorry. I know you had your hand up.
So I just tried to check my area, and you want like all my personal information. What are you doing with that data? Just to check and see if it's available. It's like asking for everything. And for someone that, you know, PII, that's what you're asking for. Why do you need all that information to tell me if it's available in my community?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, when I ordered it, I just put in my address.
It asks for a phone number as well, but that's all it's asking.
No, when I put my phone number and I put my address, and then it put me to another page of my name and all of this other stuff. It didn't give me the availability and I didn't fill it out because I'm like, why do I need to fill all this out to tell me if it's available? So I like to try these things because this is what the consumer is going to experience.
Right.
And
yeah.
You don't like to give up your information.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look after this call. It should just be a checker. It almost sounds like maybe you qualify and it's going to the point where now you're signing up. So yeah, I'm gonna look into that. There is an 800 number that you can call and just talk to an agent.
So Carla said she got the same experience. So yeah, it's asking for too much information just to tell me if it's available. So that's just my 2 cents. As a tech person, I don't like to give up my data if I don't have to.
I know. I was just filling out I was trying to find a consumer. I bought a new house. I'm looking at trying to build a pool, and I was just trying to get an interest rate. And it's like, you know, you answer some basic questions, you think you're getting close, and the next thing you know, they want how much money you make and your W-2. I'm like, nope, I'm out. I just closed it.
Yep, I do the same thing. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I wonder if we've made some changes, because when I signed up, I just went to the website and I literally put in my home address and it said yes or no. And that's all it was.
Sounds like the marketing guys got in the loop.
Right, Kirk? So let's see if I start getting T-Mobile text messages now that they have my phone number.
Oh, yeah.
Then I'll know where it came from.
Right.
I also tested out, and I didn't have that issue, Sharika, but you know, don't know what's happening. But well, we need to look into that.
Real quickly, Steve, what URL did you go to? And I was curious where Sharika went. Like, if you guys went to different.
I have no idea, Will.
I just
might have been to your
whatever you
website.
said,
Might have been the website. I don't know.
T-Mobile.com. So yeah.
All right, Justin, David, I don't know if Justin dropped or not, but
no, he's there.
No, yeah. So you guys went to the T-Mobile.com/ISP website. Is that correct?
I just typed T-Mobile.com and then hit home internet in the drop down on the left-hand side under services. And then it said check availability, put in my phone number, put in my address. And then when I hit check, it came up to another page asking more information and I stopped. So I was like, you don't get that much.
I clicked on the link that somebody provided on the chat and followed it, and then same thing. I clicked checked on availability, put in actually I put information. I honestly, I had great relationships in the Nogales area. So I specifically put an address and phone number in Nogales. And then it started asking a whole lot more questions, and obviously I couldn't answer it, but it was a lot of analytics.
Okay. Yeah, usually, you know, when you put in your phone number and home address, it'll tell you, and then you click check availability. If you qualify, or if you don't qualify, it ends right there. It says you don't qualify, check again. But if you do qualify, then it's probably asking you for registration type information to move forward
Makes sense.
with the order.
Okay, guys, I just went to, I went both ways and I found one all this information, the other one's not looking. So if you just go to T-Mobile.com and nothing else, don't do home internet, just T-Mobile.com. Under plans at the top left, it says, you know, phones, the military, veterans, first responders, and home internet plan. I click on home internet plan and it says right there, $50 a month. It's that simple. Check availability. And all I'm seeing is, all it's asking for is a phone number and your home address. So I'm gonna type in, I'll do like my neighbors, or I'll just do, well, I'll just put in my address.
Well, let's not take a lot of time right now, Will. Let's just look into it. So Cindy, you're shaking your head. Do you have a concern or question?
Yeah, I just wonder. Yeah, anyway, I'm a little frustrated with this presentation.
Well, and I don't have a T-Mobile account currently, so no phone number, so I can't, it doesn't seem like check availability. It says that my T-Mobile phone number is, or can I put any mobile?
Oh, yeah, Mark, it's you don't have to have T-Mobile. You don't have to be a T-Mobile customer. You can stick with Verizon or AT&T and just get the home internet from us. Yeah, you guys, I put in my cell number and my home address, and it says 5G home internet is available at your address. And it didn't ask me for an email address. It didn't ask me. Just, you can put in a fake phone number. All I had to do was put in my address and a phone number, and it says right here, home internet is available at your address.
Mauricio just put something on the comment that makes sense. He said maybe that is programmed based on the zip code because they're trying to collect more data and more information from certain zip codes. So that might be the case.
Yeah.
It's also possible that you're using a beta version of the access point if it was initially being looked at by your marketing team, and the others may be looking at the final version of it.
Yeah.
So if you get out of your browser and clear all your cookies, you might be seeing what they see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's not belabor this anymore right now. Will, it's something that obviously you guys need to look into and make sure that we just want to make sure that you're getting some good feedback.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna find out about the digital inclusion and the discounts and the credits and things like that, see how that ties into our service.
Okay.
So
Michael Edmonds was just saying that if even $50 a month with auto pay, but which is required, I believe. So David is saying it's $60 without auto pay. So you can get it for $50 with auto pay, $60 without auto pay. And as Michael was saying, there's some of the folks that he works with that don't have banks. So that's wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, any other questions that people have? Let's talk about, are there any other questions about availability or anything like that, the speeds or any of those kinds of issues before we end for today?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to make a comment. Well, wouldn't it be important to not just tell the person that you have the service available, but what speed they're going to get when they pay the $50 a month?
You know, because we're wireless, it's tough. You know, like I know my last place, CenturyLink, or I'm sorry, Cox told me I was getting Gigablast, but I think I got 200-300 on average. So when I complained and they came out and tested it and they showed me they were getting a gigablast on their little device, but then I never got it. You know,
But you're not buying a specific bandwidth, you're buying connectivity. And as part of that connectivity package, they have to provide a certain SLA of bandwidth, but you're not necessarily buying a specific speed.
That's true. Yeah, we don't sell, you know, like Cox will do it by packages, right? They have their 500 meg, their 250 meg, their gigablast. Yeah, that's a true point. We're providing connectivity, but I don't think we're guaranteeing any speeds because we're wireless.
Yeah, it just becomes hard for a consumer to compare what they're getting, you know, for that price versus Cox's or CenturyLink's.
Well, I know I was paying $100 for the first year and then it went to $119 and I get the same speeds and no buffering and no problems for half the price. So,
yeah.
And again, it depends on your address. You know, the farther away you are from the cell site, you know, the speeds can start slowing down, and that's why we have the checker. You know, if you live closer to the cell site, it'll be even faster. But, you know, honestly, if you're, as long as you're getting 50 meg download speeds, most Netflix streaming services throughout the whole house could stream all at the same time. So.
Okay, I think we're about out of time today. I think people raised some questions, Will, for you, and certainly wanting to know more about the consumer side of the house versus the. Okay. Any other questions for Will before we end for today? Any other announcements? And Brian, I see you're online, and you and I need to connect about a presentation you wanted us to do. So we need to connect with you about that. I'm sorry, who was?
That was me, Steve. Really quickly, I just confirmed, and the cybersecurity summit is not, unfortunately, not going to be available virtually. It is going to be 100% in person.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carla. Yeah, I didn't see anything about being virtual. Okay, any other questions, any other announcements before we call it a day?
This is Lindsay. Steve, we have our annual conference happening this week. It's going to be at in Scottsdale at the McCormick Ranch Resort. I can put the website. I'm not sure. I mean, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have a very good attendance. So if anybody's interested, please let me know.
Okay, I'm sorry, Lindsay. What is that event?
Is our annual conference, the Arizona Alliance for Community Health Center annual conference.
Okay.
So I will put the link in the chat.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think we're done for Jessica. Are you online now? Can you hear us?
Jessica Novak.
Yeah, so Jessica, I was asking you earlier, you were looking for some data. Did you find what you needed? Or do you want to tell people what you're looking for? Maybe somebody can help you.
Sure, of course. This is Jessica Novak. I'm with United Way of Tucson and Southern Arizona, and I'm working with a work group specifically in early education, early childhood education, and we have a thread that talks about how internet and accessibility, plays a detrimental role in early childhood in terms of, the teachers, the parents accessing sites, all of it. But we're using accessibility data from 2019. And at this point, 2019 data always makes us kind of pause because we know so much has shifted. And I'm just wondering if anyone has current statistics for the state of Arizona in terms of communities' connectivity to the internet, and then that same data broken down by county.
So Jessica, you want to put your contact information in the chat?
Yes, I will do that.
And we'll send that out and see if anybody has any thoughts for you.
I'm really just looking for a table or a graph. I know things have shifted, and I know even like in early childhood, we are struggling to come up with the current landscape because of the effects of the pandemic. But I feel like we have done a lot of work with accessibility. So to have 2019 data just seems a little outdated. So yeah, I'm just looking for a table, a graph, something that would be a snapshot of where we are kind of post, or I would say through the pandemic. Where are we? with our accessibility through the state. Thank you.
You bet. Lindsay, did you have something else? Your hand is raised. Did you have something else?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. So anything else anybody wants to share before we end for today? If not, I think we're done. And anybody who wants to hang on and kibitz for a while, we'll see you soon. See you in a minute.